news, the Obama administration tonight accused of launching a new attack on conservative nonprofit groups. The IRS is now proposing new rules to restrict the spending of these groups when it comes to campaign-related activities, which happens to be the very thing Democrats were demanding the IRS do once the whole Tea Party targeting scandal broke. Joining me now, Jay Sekulow. He's chief counsel for the American Center for Law and Justice. This is so interesting to me, Jay, because what we had was news that the IRS was targeting Tea Party groups, including many of whom are your clients. And there was outrage, supposedly from both parties. But then after the outrage lasted for a few weeks, some of these Democrats started to come out and say, you know what this is really about? It's really about these groups doing political activity in the first place, which they shouldn't be doing. And lo and behold, the IRS just tried to appease those Democrats and change the rules. Do I have it about right?
You got it right. They're changing the rules, by the way, while the game is still in play. We've got litigation right now against the IRS. As you mentioned, we have 41 clients, conservative groups, some Christian organizations, Tea Party organizations. And the IRS is now engaging in basically this, Megan, a post hoc justification for their illegal conduct. They did targeting based on what they deemed to be, quote, political activity or the names of the groups. Remember that be on the lookout list. Right. And now they're justifying it by changing the rules. But you know what? For the groups that are left of center, the progressive groups, as they're called, that have been doing this for 50 years, they've been able to do it without any problem. Now, all of a sudden, the conservative groups have gotten the same idea that you can engage through 501c4 organizations, and now the rules change. That's not going to fly. It's a process we're going to object to, by the way, in the comments section that now will start. But this changing the rules and trying to silence speech again by the IRS shows that they are really institutionally incapable of self-correcting their own made problem. They've done this for themselves. But the folks on the
other side said, look, the 501c4 of the IRS code defines a social welfare organization as one that's operated exclusively to promote social welfare. And they complained because they said the IRS code then came out and said, well, and by exclusive what we mean is they have to operate primarily to further the common good. And that's what the liberals were objecting to, saying you can't say exclusive means, well, you just have to do primarily social welfare stuff, and the other 49% can be political. That's what they were looking to clear up. Is that not a fair objection?
You know, here's the problem with that, Megan. That is there is their objection, but I don't think it's fair, and I'll tell you why. It's the IRS themselves that proposed just a few months ago that if a group would engage in and acknowledge that they're only engaged in 40% of quote-unquote political activity, they would automatically get an exemption by self-certifying. So the IRS is playing both sides here. And, you know, George Soros and his groups have been funding C4 organizations for decades, and now all of a sudden, as I said, the rules are changing. But there's something else here that's sinister to this. The idea that this is going on in the middle of this litigation that we've got with where the Treasury Department is being represented by the Department of Justice and outside law firms, and they're changing the rules in the middle of this because, remember this, our clients' applications are still pending after 3 years. And you know what they deem to be an appropriate activity here? Voter registration, which is exactly what the NAACP has done for decades so successfully. I'm glad they've done it. But, yeah.
So they can now shut down your clients' applications that they've been delaying for, in some cases, 3 years based on this new rule if it passes and it is approved?
Sure. What they're going to do is they're going to say they've got new standards now. They've got to evaluate the organizations based on those standards. And I sent a stack of documents this thick to the Treasury Department saying we've already given you 2.5 feet worth of documents here, and you still haven't approved. I showed it on your broadcast.
Well, it makes it a lot easier to win.
Is, they're doing a rule change in the middle. It's not going to stand.
Makes it a lot easier to win if you change the rules of the game mid-play. Jay, thank you.
Yeah.